Let me ask you an embarrassing question. Why is it that some of the richest people in the world never finished school? Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard. Steve Jobs dropped out of college. Mark Zuckerberg walked away from one of the most prestigious universities on the planet. And yet, they didn't fail. They built billion-dollar empires. Now think about your life. From childhood, you were told one thing over and over again. Study hard, get good grades, get a stable job. No one said, build a business, invest your money, create wealth, and that's not an accident. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If school really leads to success, then why are most graduates struggling financially? Why are people working 9-to-5 jobs, barely surviving? And here's the most brutal question of all. Why does the education system never teach you how to get rich? Because it's not supposed to. School was designed to create workers, not wealthy individuals. And once you understand this, you'll never look at education the same way again. From the very first day you walked into school, you were sold a belief that sounds logical, but quietly controls your entire life. Get good grades, and you'll have a successful future. It sounds safe, it sounds responsible, it sounds right. But here's the brutal truth. It's one of the biggest lies ever told, because step outside the classroom and reality hits differently. Nobody in the real world asks about your grades. Nobody pays you for your report card. The world doesn't reward memorization, it rewards value. What problems can you solve? What can you create? What skills do you actually have? And this is exactly where the system fails you. School trains you to memorize information just long enough to pass an exam, then forget it right after. You're taught to follow instructions, not to question them, to repeat answers, not to think independently. That's not education, that's conditioning. Meanwhile, the people who actually win in life aren't the ones chasing perfect grades. They're the ones building skills, taking risks, and creating opportunities. So while you were focused on getting an A, someone else was learning how money works. And today, they're not looking for jobs, they're creating them. If you really want to understand why school doesn't teach you how to get rich, you need to look at where this system came from. Because it wasn't built for your success, it was built for control. Let's go back to the industrial age, a time when factories were booming, and they needed one thing above everything else: workers, not dreamers, not entrepreneurs, not independent thinkers. Workers who would show up on time, follow instructions, and do the same task over and over again. So what did they create? A system designed to produce exactly that. Look closely at your school life. A bell tells you when to start. A bell tells you when to stop. You sit in rows, listen to authority, and do exactly what you're told. That's not random. That's training. You're being prepared for a job, not for freedom. And here's the problem. The world has evolved. We no longer live in a factory-driven economy. We live in a world where ideas make millions, where creativity builds empires, where one smart move can change your life. But the education system? It's still stuck in the past. Still producing employees, in a world where owners win. Let's be honest, and this might sting a little. School doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards obedience. Think about it. The perfect student isn't the one asking bold questions or challenging ideas. It's the one who sits quietly, follows instructions, and repeats exactly what the teacher says. That student gets the highest grades. But what happens when someone thinks differently? When they question the system or come up with their own ideas? They get labeled disruptive, difficult, not focused, and slowly they're pushed back into line. Because the system doesn't want independent thinkers, it wants predictable behavior. And this is where things get dangerous. Because success in the real world works the opposite way. The people who build wealth don't follow the crowd. They question everything. They take risks. They challenge what others accept. But if you've spent your entire life being trained to obey, you start fearing those things. You fear failure. You fear judgment. You fear stepping outside the rules. And that fear keeps you stuck. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you were trained not to use it. Now here's where things get really uncomfortable. You spend 10, 12, sometimes 15 years in school, learning formulas, learning theories, learning history, but not once does anyone sit you down and explain how money actually works. Think about that. You graduate knowing how to solve equations, but not how to manage your income. You can write essays, but not build wealth. You understand science, but not how taxes slowly eat your earnings. Why? Because this isn't an accident. It's intentional. Financial knowledge changes everything. The moment you understand how money works, you stop depending on a single paycheck. You stop blindly following the system. You start asking better questions. And that's dangerous for a system that survives on people staying dependent. Because if everyone knew how to invest, how to build assets, how to create income streams, then who would work 9-to-5 jobs forever? Who would stay stuck? So instead, you're taught to earn money, but never how to multiply it. You're trained to work, but never to escape. And that's why most people stay broke. Not because they're incapable, but because they were never taught the game. You've been told this your entire life. Get a stable job. It sounds safe. It sounds responsible. But let's break that illusion. A job is only secure until the day it isn't. The moment the company struggles, profits drop, or management decides to cut costs, you're replaceable. Just like that. Years of loyalty gone in a second. And here's where the trap gets even deeper. The more you earn, the more you spend. You upgrade your life, a bigger house, a nicer car, more subscriptions, more bills. At first, it feels like success. But in reality, you're just building a life you can't afford to walk away from. Now, quitting your job isn't freedom, it's fear. Because everything depends on that one paycheck. That's not security, that's dependency. And the system loves this. Because a dependent person doesn't take risks. They don't question the system. They stay even when they're unhappy. So you're not trapped because you're weak. You're trapped because the system was designed that way. A comfortable cage is still a cage. While you were sitting in classrooms, memorizing information you'd forget after exams, the wealthy were learning something completely different. They weren't focused on getting a job. They were focused on building systems. Here's the difference most people never understand. Poor and middle-class people work for money. The rich, they make money work for them. They don't depend on a single paycheck. They build assets. What's an asset? Something that puts money into your pocket, whether you're working or not. Businesses, investments, digital products, real estate. These are income streams that don't require you to trade every hour for money. Because here's the truth, time is limited. You only have 24 hours a day. So if your income depends on your time, your income will always be limited. But assets, they don't have that limit. They scale, they grow, they multiply. This is why the rich keep getting richer, while everyone else stays stuck, not because they're smarter, but because they're playing a completely different game. And the most dangerous part, nobody in school ever told you that game even exists. So now the real question is, if the system was never designed to make you rich, how do you escape it? It starts with one simple shift. You stop thinking like everyone else. Step 1. Stop chasing grades and start chasing skills. Because in the real world, skills pay the bills. Learn things that actually generate income. Sales, marketing, copywriting, digital skills, investing. These are the tools that give you leverage. Step 2. Stop depending on one source of income. Even if you have a job right now, start building something on the side. A small business, a freelance skill, an online income stream. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to start. Step 3. Take control of your education. Because today, everything you need to learn is available online, for free, or at a fraction of the cost of traditional education. You don't need permission anymore. You need action. And here's the truth most people ignore. This path isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. It's uncertain. But it's the only path that leads to freedom. So the question isn't, can you do it? The real question is, will you? Let's bring this back to reality. School will teach you how to survive, how to follow instructions, how to get a job, how to fit into the system. But it will never teach you how to get rich, because wealth doesn't come from following the system. It comes from thinking beyond it. The people who build real freedom in life don't wait for permission. They don't follow the crowd. They question everything, take risks, and choose a different path. And now, you stand at a crossroads. You can keep doing what you've always been told. Stay safe, stay comfortable, stay predictable. Or you can step into the unknown. Learn what actually matters. Build something of your own. Take control of your future. Because at the end of the day, your life won't be defined by your grades. It will be defined by your decisions. So choose wisely, because one path keeps you stuck, and the other changes everything. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated with more content on financial tips, investing strategies, and wealth-building insights, consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you'll become part of our growing community eager to take control of their financial futures.